While everybody's been watching the Cubs offense explode over the last week, Craig Counsell has quietly been making a decision behind the scenes that nobody was talking about. And it just completely flipped the pecking order at one of the most important positions on this roster. No trade, no injury, no press conference. Just numbers on a lineup card that tell you everything about where this team's head is at heading into the stretch run. Let's get into exactly what changed, why it's happening right now, and why the timing of this move might be the smartest thing Counsell has done all season. But real quick, before I get into it, I want to do something a little different than usual. Instead of just asking you to comment, I want you to actually picture this for a second. Think about the very first Cubs game you remember watching, live or on TV, the one that actually made you a fan. Got it in your head? Good. Now tell me in the comments what that game was. And while you're at it, tell me what city or country you're watching this from right now, because I genuinely want to see how far this fan base actually reaches. And if this channel is the kind of place you want breaking this stuff down for you every single time something like this happens, go ahead and subscribe right now, because I promise you, this team is not going to slow down between now and October. Okay, so here's the actual move. For most of this season, the Cubs' catching situation behind the plate was supposed to be a true timeshare. Carson Kelly and Miguel Amaya splitting starts fairly evenly, the way the front office designed it back in spring training. That plan made sense on paper. But over the last 2 weeks, that plan has quietly disappeared, and Carson Kelly has taken over as the Cubs' clear number one option behind the plate. Here's the number that tells the whole story. In the month of August alone, Carson Kelly is running a 689 OPS. Miguel Amaya's mark over that same stretch is 60 points lower. And it's not just a one-game blip. Amaya has been on the bench for 3 of the last 4 games. Since he tied a season high with 3 RBIs and a win over the Royals earlier this month, Amaya has gone just 2 for 16 at the plate, with a walk-to-strikeout ratio that isn't doing him any favors either. Meanwhile, Kelly has been doing exactly the opposite, locking in at the plate right when the Cubs needed someone back there to start producing. And this isn't some minor bench decision buried in a random Tuesday afternoon game. This flip happened right as the Cubs caught fire as a team. Think about the timing here. Chicago just demolished the Seattle Mariners 19-2. They followed that up with a walk-off win over the White Sox, courtesy of Alex Bregman, who delivered the game-winning RBI single to give the Cubs the most walk-off victories in all of Major League Baseball this season, 13 of them. And then, to open a road series against a desperate Arizona Diamondbacks team fighting for a wild card spot, Kevin Gausman went out and threw 7 scoreless innings. And guess who provided the power in that 7-0 shutout win? Carson Kelly, hitting a home run back-to-back with Michael Conforto. This isn't a coincidence. Counsell is riding the hot hand at exactly the right moment, and right now, that hot hand belongs to Carson Kelly. Now, if you know the Cubs' catching situation from earlier this year, you know this is actually a pretty wild turn of events, because for most of the offseason and even into spring training, this wasn't supposed to be a Carson Kelly-led room forever. Amaya was viewed as the long-term answer at catcher, the guy who was supposed to eventually take over as Chicago's guy behind the plate for years to come. Manager Craig Counsell himself talked all spring about wanting that true co-starter setup, the same one that made the Cubs' catching tandem one of the best in baseball back in 2025. But baseball doesn't care about the plan you had in March. It cares about who's producing in August, in the middle of a playoff race, and right now that answer is clearly Carson Kelly. So let's talk about why this move actually matters so much beyond just one lineup card. This is happening at the exact moment the Chicago Cubs are proving, in real time, that they are one of the most dangerous teams left standing in the National League. The Cubs currently sit at 76 wins and 56 losses, and this isn't a team just scraping by. This is a team that USA Today's Bob Nightingale flat out said just proved, with their win over Arizona, that they are a legitimate October threat. And it's not just Kelly heating up. Pete Crow Armstrong has been an absolute monster all season. 33 home runs, 83 RBIs, 93 runs scored, 32 stolen bases, and he's already become the first player in Chicago Cubs history to post back-to-back 30-30 seasons. If he finishes strong, he's got a real shot at the first 40-40 campaign this franchise has ever seen. Let that sink in for a second. A stat line this franchise has never produced, not once, in over a century of baseball. And it doesn't stop there. Ian Happ went deep in both of his starts against Seattle this past weekend and is now sitting on 22 home runs on the season. His career high is 25, set on 2 separate occasions, which means Happ is on pace to potentially set a new career best down the stretch of a playoff race. Michael Conforto has now homered in back-to-back games for the first time all season. This offense, across the board, is heating up at the exact moment it needs to. So when you put it all together, Kelly's bat coming alive, Crow Armstrong chasing history, Happ closing in on a career high, Bregman delivering walk-offs, Gosman shutting teams down on the mound, Counsell shifting the catching workload toward Kelly isn't some isolated, random decision. It's part of a much bigger pattern. This manager is looking at every single position on that roster right now and asking one simple question: who gives us the best chance to win today? And right now, at catcher, that answer isn't a 50-50 timeshare anymore. It's Carson Kelly. Now, here's my actual take on this, and I want you to tell me if you agree or completely disagree, because I know this one's going to split the fan base a little bit. I think this is exactly the right move, and I think it's overdue. Miguel Amaya is a talented player, and there's still a very real path for him to be an important piece of this roster going forward, especially defensively. But in a pennant race, in the middle of August, you cannot afford to keep running a struggling bat out there in the name of a plan that was drawn up back in March. Kelly has earned this. He's produced when the team needed him to produce, and Counsell rewarding that with more playing time is just smart, modern baseball management. The version of this team that wins in October is going to be built around whoever's hot right now, not whoever was penciled in during spring training. But here's the thing I'm actually watching closely going forward: how the Cubs handle this once they get into the postseason. Because a short playoff series is a completely different animal than a long regular season stretch. If Kelly cools off even a little bit in September, does Counsell stick with him out of loyalty to this hot streak? Or does he go back to a matchup-based platoon with Amaya, especially against certain pitching staffs? That's the part of this story that isn't finished yet. And honestly, it might be the more interesting question heading into the final month of the season. So now I want to hear from you directly. Do you think Carson Kelly should keep the job outright for the rest of the season, no matter what happens with Amaya? Or do you think this needs to go back to a real, genuine timeshare once October baseball is on the line and matchups start mattering more? Drop your honest take in the comments, because I've seen this exact debate split Cubs fans right down the middle already, and I want to know exactly where you land on it. One more thing before I let you go, and this is worth keeping an eye on heading into the next couple of weeks. This Cubs roster is dealing with a genuinely long injury list right now. 14 players currently carrying some kind of injury designation, including names like Dansby Swanson, Edward Cabrera, and several arms on the 60-day list. And yet, even with all of that, this team just went out and blew out one of the best teams in baseball by 17 runs, picked up their 13th walk-off win of the season, and opened a series in a hostile Arizona ballpark with a shutout. That tells you something real about the depth and the identity of this roster right now. They are finding ways to win even when they're not at full strength. And that is exactly the kind of team that makes a difference in October. That's everything on this one. If breaking down moves like this, the ones that don't make the front page but actually tell you where a team's head is at, is something you want more of, make sure you're subscribed, because there is going to be a lot more happening with this roster between now and the end of the season. Like the video, if this helped you understand what's actually going on behind the scenes with this Cubs team, drop your prediction on the Kelly Amaya situation down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Go Cubs, go.